Alright everyone, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for tuning in. Today I thought I would do a video talking about all the palettes that I bought in 2020. Not necessarily ranking them because I haven't tried them all and I don't like to give a review or anything like that until I've tried like every single shade in all, like in a palette. I don't know why. I just want to be totally sure in order to give like my full thoughts, but I just wanted to go over them. I wanted to do a little bit of reflection. I love watching videos like this, so I was like, why not? And I'm going to try to do this in as chronological an order as possible, although it's not going to be totally perfect. So on a kind of random note, the year started off pretty slow. I didn't really buy a ton of palettes, and then once the coronavirus started, I kind of went down a rabbit hole of just buying palettes this year. But the very first palette that I bought in 2020, again, is kind of random. This is the Makeup Revolution and Roxxsaurus palette. It looks like this. I briefly talked about this before. It's just okay, honestly. Like, I've used it. I think I've used every single shade in here. It's fine. It's pretty like standard Makeup Revolution quality. I don't necessarily regret buying it because it wasn't super expensive, but it definitely isn't a palette that I needed or that I reach for super often, but it's definitely not horrible. Then I think it was maybe a Sephora sale, or I made a Sephora order. I think I had gift cards that I hadn't used yet, but both of these were old releases from 2019 that I still couldn't get into my mind, and so these are palettes that I've talked about a lot on my channel. Lunar Beauty Moonspell. You guys know how I feel about this palette. I think it's so beautiful. I love it. I'm so glad that I ended up buying this. I didn't actually like spend my own personal money on it, but I spent gift card money on it. I love the color story of this. I've gotten a ton of use out of it. You guys know that I love this palette. Although I will say it's not one that I typically use alone all that often, but I think packaging's beautiful. I love the color story. I really like the formula all around. I'm really happy that I ended up making this purchase. Definitely not a regret. Then in that same order, I also got the Melt Amor Eterno Vida palette. Again, you guys know I love this palette so much. No regrets at all. The Muerte palette I already had, and this was a gift technically in December of 2019 because I got this before, like for Christmas, so it wasn't technically a palette that I got in 2020, but it was close to the deadline. But this I bought in 2020 itself, a little bit later, probably in March or April, I want to say. And then palettes that I bought so long ago, like probably honestly in May. Like, it's been a long time, and I've been using them, but I haven't actually talked about them on my channel, and I will do a review of these because I have a lot of feelings that I haven't been able to get out. But I did buy all three of the Lime Crime Venus palettes. They had a sale for like 50% off of all of them, and so they were probably about $25 each, because normally these retail, I think, for like $50, which is so too much money. I think $25 is too much for these, but this is the Venus one. This is definitely one of the biggest regrets, kind of, I want to say, of 2020. I don't love these, but I also think that they would have stayed on my wish list forever, and I never would have. I think I always would have ended up buying them just because I had wanted them for so long. The mattes are fine. I just don't love most of the shimmers in here are satins, and I just don't prefer that. I don't hate them, I just don't prefer them. This is Venus 2. This is probably my favorite of the bunch. I do love these warm tones. I love this mustard shade specifically. This metallic is not a satin, it's like a really nice like metallic, creamy metallic shade, but they're just okay. They're not palettes that I reach for a ton, and I just got sucked in by a sale. And then this is Venus 3. Like I said, I will do a video on these because I have a lot of thoughts and feelings about them. But yeah, that was a purchase that I made pretty early in 2020 actually, and I still haven't talked about them on my channel, which is typical. Then there was another Sephora sale, or I know that I bought these during a Sephora sale, so probably in the spring at some point. I got 2 Dominique Cosmetics palettes. I got the Berries and Cream palette, which I do enjoy. I had a ton of fun using this in the fall. I think it's really pretty. I love also the packaging of these palettes. And then I also got the Rustic Glam, which I've done videos on both of these. I do like this palette. This one, I'm wearing a combination of these two on my eyes today. I like these palettes, but I don't love them. Like, I wouldn't, knowing what I know now, I wouldn't go back and rebuy them, if that makes sense. Not necessarily a regret, because I actually have used these a pretty like good amount, especially for all the palettes that I have in my collection. But it's definitely not my favorite formula that I've ever tried. And that's what I have to say about that. And then I think I had a little bit of a break from buying palettes. This is where the order of my purchases gets a little bit foggy, but I think the next palette that I got was the Bakerie Do It for the Glam palette. I've also done a video on this. Not my favorite. I think the metallics are really beautiful. The mattes I just don't really love. I would not really recommend picking this up. There are a lot of products from Beauty Bakerie that are really great. This isn't one that I necessarily think is that great. Like I said, the metallics, beautiful, really foiled, creamy. They're a really nice formula. The mattes are just really like lightly pigmented, if I'm being like nice. They're not buildable. They don't appear on the eyes the way that they look in the pan, and I don't know, like I don't reach for this palette because of that, but I do enjoy using the metallics. It's just not my preferred matte formula, that's for sure. Then I think, and I just can't remember, but I think then I bought the Colored Raine Safari Rain palette. This is definitely not a regret. I love this. I've gotten so much use out of this. This is such a beautiful color story, and this was the first Colored Raine purchase that I ever made, and then I made some more orders. Then I think in July, let's just go over all the Colored Raine palettes that I bought. I haven't made a video on this palette, but this one on sale for 50% off. I've been eyeing it for a while, and I got the Colored Raine and Power collab palette. I think this is beautiful. It's so beautiful. I love purples. I love purples so much. This is such a beautiful purple palette. It gives me very similar vibes to the Jaclyn Hill and Morphe like purple palette. I feel like there are a lot of similar tones, a lot of similar shades in a much better formula, and I haven't used every single shade in this palette, but I've used it a fair amount, and I find myself reaching for the deep purples that are in this palette to complete looks if I don't feel like a palette has enough depth. And so yeah, I just really love this. The metallics in here, beautiful. And then this was a recent purchase, but I'll just throw it in with the Colored Raine palettes. I bought the Colored Raine Juicy Boost. Controversial. A controversial palette, but I have really enjoyed it. I've had a ton of fun playing with this. I love the color story. I don't mind the formula. A lot of people really fucking hate this palette and Colored Raine's new formula, but I really got along with it. And again, I also got this 50% off. Colored Raine does sales pretty frequently, and I feel like I'm harassing them on Instagram because for the past like 4 looks or something that I've done, I've used their palettes, and I'm just like tagging them, but I have gotten a ton of use out of those, and Colored Raine was definitely like a favorite brand for eyeshadow for me this year. Then I made a Makeup Addiction Cosmetics order. I believe that's next in line. And I got the Meadow palette. Again, I've done a video on this. I've done a video on actually most of these, which is good. I really like this palette. I really love the matte formula in here. The shimmers and metallic shades are good. They're not my favorite. They're fine. There's nothing wrong with them. But the matte, I feel like, is really where this brand stands out. In particular, this matte blue, I love it. It's one of probably my favorite deep matte blue that I have in my entire collection. The color story of this palette I find a little bit difficult to work with just because I wouldn't blend typically a matte blue into like an orange. And this leans more orange, I find, than it does red. So it does tend to get a little bit muddy in the crease. So I don't prefer to blend these two together, and for that reason I find myself reaching for other palettes when I use this palette. Not a bad thing, just something about this palette that makes me maybe not reach for it quite as much as I would typically, but I really love the formula. I'm really happy that I have this in my collection, and it's kind of nice that you can take the pans out, as I could actually see myself depotting, aka just removing the pans and using them as singles. I really have enjoyed Makeup Addiction Cosmetics formula. And in that order, I also got the Holy Glow Fantasy palette. This, I likely will depot these shadows just because I use them basically as singles anyway. I might as well keep them with my other singles. These are really beautiful, just delicious, bright, vibrant, metallic shades. I specifically love this bright green. I really don't have anything like this in my collection. It's really bright and in your face and beautiful, and I also love this rich purple. So I really, again, no regrets. They also had a sale. I think most of these things I bought on sale, I'm not gonna lie. Then this one I bought, and I don't know, I think this came to me pretty late, maybe even in September, but let's just fucking throw it in here. The Pure and RawBeautyKristi palette. This is the colorful side, and this is the neutral side. Again, I'm just happy to support Kristi. I really, really loved this palette as well. I know that not everyone loved it, but I had no problems with the formula. I thought they blended really well. I love her color selection, and I thought it was great. I did a 3 looks 1 palette video using this, and yeah, I'm super, super happy that I have this in my collection as well. And then I made another Juvia's Place order. I've talked about these, I think, in another video. I will do videos on these at some point. I just haven't got around to it because my life has been annoying and I haven't had as much time to film as I would have loved to. But I got the Warrior 3 palette. I've been eyeing this ever since it launched. I really like this. I think maybe this would have made more sense to be a Zulu 2 rather than a Warrior 3 because the Warrior collection from Juvia's Place is more neutral, but hey, that's their decision. I really am happy with this. Again, haven't used it, but I plan to. I also got the Warrior palette, which I've talked about. This actually made it into my 2020 favorites. I really love this. I said it in that video as well. This has become like my go-to neutral palette. I think the tones of gold and brown in here are just perfect. It's just such a great palette, and I didn't anticipate getting a lot of use out of this, but I really, really have, which is honestly surprising. And then I also got the Nomad palette, another one that I've been wanting since it released. This is the most beautiful fall color story, or just any time of year color story. It's such a beautiful mustardy green palette. I love these tones. I can never get enough. I have no regrets over this purchase at all. I never regret anything I buy from Juvia's Place. Then I also got the Afrique palette. This was more of a collection piece. Like, I wasn't collection piece. I bought this to like help round out my Juvia's Place collection. I don't have all of them. I almost have all of their like permanent for now palettes, but the metallics in here are really beautiful. There's some really, really nice shades. A lot of these are more mid-tone, so I definitely think that I would use this palette with something else. But I also got that. Again, no regrets about that at all. I love Juvia's Place, and a lot of those were palettes that I've been wanting for a long time. Another random palette that definitely I didn't need, but here we are. Anyway, I got the NYX Ultimate Shadow Palette. This is Phoenix, the Phoenix version. I've used this once in a video. It was like a drugstore get ready with me. It's fine. I need to use it more. I mostly bought it because it looks very much like a Color Story dupe for ColourPop Good Sport. I wasn't let down by the quality of these shadows. Not the best shadows I've ever used, not the worst. It's just okay. Overpriced as all hell though. It's like I got this on sale for maybe $15 or something, but normally it's like $20 at least. And that is too much for the quality of these shadows, that is for sure. Then, love of my actual life, I got the Pat McGrath Celestial Divinity palette. I won't go on about this because I've ranted about this in like every single video that I've done since I got it. I love this palette. This has made me fall in love with Pat McGrath's formula. And leading on to that, then more things went on sale at Sephora, and I picked up the Ecstasy Subversive palette from Pat McGrath. So this is like her little 5-pan mini plastic palette, and I mostly bought it because I wanted to try more Pat McGrath, and I wanted to see how her shadows perform like across different palettes. I don't know, I just wasn't sure if like this Celestial Divinity was an anomaly or if I actually really did love her metallics as much as I thought I did. And I actually have only used this gold shade. It's really beautiful. It seems consistent with the metallic shadows that are in Celestial Divinity. Did I need this? No. Do I regret it? Not necessarily. I will say it's not something that I needed to buy though. Then I also got in that order the Huda Beauty Coral Obsessions palette. I mostly got this because it went on sale for $16, and I've been wanting the like Obsessions palettes by Huda Beauty for a long time, and I just thought now is the time for me to try this. I haven't used this on my eyes yet. I've swatched it, but I really like the color story. Again, it's very mid-tone. I think I would use this with something else, but maybe I'll use it in a Get Ready With Me or something at some point. And then this was more in the summer, but I just put it because it was a small palette. This was actually gifted to me by my neighbor, which is kind of random. It was unused, so it's okay. It's the Smashbox Cover Shot Nova Eye Palette. I think this was a limited edition holiday release, if I understand correctly, because someone commented on one of my videos and told me that. I've used all the shades in here. It's a nice little palette. Not the best quality, not the worst. I've tried it, and I know that now I don't think I would ever buy any of Smashbox's eyeshadow palettes because it's just okay. I did like the metallics in here, but it's just fine. But I didn't pay for it, so that's okay. And then, is that all? Oh no, it's not all. And then I made some purchases that are very recent, but that were right at the end of 2020, so I'm going to include them. This was one of the only Black Friday purchases that I actually made. I made an order from Beauty Bay because their palettes, their Beauty Bay palettes went on sale. And so I got the Book of Magic palette because I've heard so many people talk about it, and it just looked like the most beautiful color story. This is what it looks like. It's stunning. It's so pretty. I think they went on sale for like $20 each. So both of these together were like 40 bucks, and I was like, yes, I will get them. That seems like a good deal. And so I did. And then I also got the Sunset Horizons palette. A lot of people didn't really like this color story, but I think it's beautiful. Again, I think it really is a good half warm, half cool toned palette. I think it's done really well. and so I picked it up as well. I have really no regrets about these. I've only swatched them again. I haven't used them on my eyes, but I hope to do 3 looks, 1 palette with each of these sometime in the future. I couldn't tell you when. And then I made a sneaky little Clydos order over the holidays that was in December, but like close to the end of December. So I technically did buy these in 2020, but I will do an entire video on these. I might do a haul, but I might not. I'm not sure. They're still in their little boxes. I guess I should take them out. I got all the remaining palettes from Clydos that I didn't already have. This is, I'm kind of ashamed of this, but I'm also not. I'm not, because when I looked at these, they're just so beautiful. So I got the Escape Pod palette. Let me take this little sleeve off here. This is what the outside looks like. Really more beautiful in person than I feel like it transfers on camera, because I really didn't like the packaging of this at all when it first released, but I don't mind it now that I actually have the physical palette. This is a really beautiful color story. Again, I don't feel like it translates on camera, because when I first saw this, I thought like there are so many similar shades in here, but I don't actually feel like there are that many similar shades when you look at it in real life. And then I also got the Electro Turquoise palette. Oops, the sleeve is falling out here. Just beautiful. I think I would buy any palette that Clydos releases, regardless of I even like the color story, because their formula is just literally insanely good. And then I got their 2 newest palettes, which were Shasimi, I don't know why I feel like I'm saying that weird, City, which was probably their most neutral palette to date. Really beautiful. Unfortunately, I love both color and neutral shades, so I basically like any palette that's ever gets released. And then I also got the Lunar Lavender, which I think is really beautiful. Packaging, as always, is perfect. This is what the Lunar Lavender one looks like. And then that rounds out the palettes that I bought in 2020. And I'm gonna tell you, this is between us. That was 30 if you weren't counting. So a lot. A lot less than some YouTubers, but I'm a normal person that buys all my makeup myself, so but I will say it really gave me a chance to try out a whole bunch of different brands. I have a ton of different brands here, lots that I had never tried before, and I feel like it's given me really a good knowledge base of like all the different formulas that I had never tried. And for the most part, I am really happy with the palettes that I bought. 2021, I will also have a video coming soon about this, will not be a year of buying as many palettes, because it's not necessary. And I need to fucking rein it in. But yeah, like I said, I love watching people talk about the palettes that they got. I didn't rank them, but I hope that it was enjoyable to just see the swatches, see the palettes that I purchased over the span of a year. Most I have filmed videos with, and there are more coming. Let me know what palettes you bought this year. Are there any regrets? Are there any new favorites that you found? I honestly would love to know. Have you tried any of these? Did you like them? Did you hate them? Let me know. Let a hoe know. And that is all I have to say, because I feel like this video is going to be also a long one. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Hopefully. Bye.